And they knew her as the Kelpie, a fairy creature and a malevolent beast who loved to eat human flesh above all other things. Because not many people choose to go swimming in Loch Ness. So instead, she would have to come out on land to seek her prey. And her favourite trick was to transform herself into the shape of a beautiful horse. A fine-looking, gentle creature. Now she would wander along by the banks of the loch until some weary traveller happened by. But after a while, they get close enough just to put out a hand and touch her. And the moment they'd done that, they were doomed. The second they touched the flesh of the Kelpie, they would stick fast, and they would try to pull themselves away. But she would just turn her head, give them a big horsey grin, roll back her lips and show her teeth, and then plunge back into the waters of Loch Ness, drag them down to the depths, and eat them up. Now it was said that they knew of the beast, because a man staggered into Inverness late one night, white as a sheet, hand wrapped in his plaid, which was soaked with his own blood. And he told them his tale of how he'd met the Iach Uisge, of how she'd tricked him. And at the last moment, before she'd pulled him into the water, he managed to grab his dirk, his knife which he kept about him always, and he cut off his own left hand to save his life. So then they knew her and feared her. And fear her to this day. We're men who believe in our grandmothers in the Highlands.
It's funny, the first time I went to Loch Ness, and again, that was before I did anything else. I went to Loch Ness. I just had to experience it myself so that I could have my own story to tell based on what I saw. You go to Loch Ness, and the first thing you'll notice, two or three things right off the bat. First thing you'll notice are all these buses, just chock full of tourists driving around. There were people standing out on the side of the loch, and so you'll, on any given day, have hundreds and hundreds of people who are just standing there looking out into the lake. And when I first saw that, I just thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And what do? I go down and stand on the edge of the lake, and within minutes, you catch yourself looking for this creature, and you're thinking, oh well, it's just a story. It's a legend. It's not real. And then you see a little ripple in the water, or you see something move in the water, and you want to believe it's real. And then I find myself going back and looking at all the documentaries, the discovery shows about scientific evidence, if you will, of something being in that loch.
I suppose the modern tradition certainly dates from 1933. It doesn't mean there weren't stories, rumours. There was the perception of the beast, the Kelpie, and of course the story of St. Columba sending away a water monster that was attacking one of his followers. But the modern sensation, the Jurassic Park version of the Loch Ness Monster, began in the spring of 1933 with a hotel manageress called Mrs. Mackay. And she was a manageress of the Drumnadrochit Hotel in Little Lochside Village, and she saw something on her way back along the newly refurbished road from Inverness, something she thought looked like a whale. And an enthusiastic water bailiff called Alex Campbell at Fort Augustus put the story into the Inverness Courier, and as we say, the rest is history.
My name's Steve Feltham. For the last 15 years I've been living in my van, and what I do is watch and wait with the video camera. I first came up here when I was a 7-year-old on a family holiday, and at that time there was a big expedition of monster hunters down the other end of the loch that had this huge camera with a lens on it about this long sticking out, and as a 7-year-old boy that just hooked me on the subject of monster hunting. And the interest grew and grew over my childhood. I started coming up for more holidays, and as an adult I'd come up with a tent and I'd sit on the loch side for 2 weeks, thinking I'd solve it in 2 weeks. And eventually I thought, no, I'm going to sell my house and I'm going to get up here full time and see what happens to a full-time monster hunter. I've seen one odd thing on the surface of the loch, which was in the first few years of being here, and the waves were going across my vision and something went through like a torpedo. So all you could see was a white streak of water. As it hit each wave, you get a splash of water off of that. I thought, oh, that's a good sighting. And I thought, right, next time it happens, I'll get my camera straight onto that. And I'm still waiting for that next time to happen. I've always been a believer in these animals in the loch. What I've believed they are has changed over the years. You know, as a kid, I was hunting for plesiosaurs, no question about it. But since being up here full time, plesiosaurs have become less and less likely, that until now they're so unlikely that they're not going to be the answer. And so my ideas of what the animals might be has changed. I'm inclined to think now that we're looking for maybe a small colony of up to 5 metre long fish, like a catfish or something like that.
I'm often asked what my personal theory is, and the answer is that I don't have a personal theory. I have a large number of theories, because I've come to the conclusion that there is no one answer to the matter of the Loch Ness Monster. The fact is that, in a nutshell, I do not believe that Loch Ness is Jurassic Park. I do not believe there are plesiosaurs, which were a reptile, a large marine reptile contemporary with the dinosaurs, swimming about in there now. It is a lost world, but it is a legacy of the ice. There are creatures from the last ice age, which would normally only live today in the Arctic, living at the bottom of Loch Ness, at a temperature similar to your own refrigerator, deep down, 200 metres down. The loch is also full of illusion. Boat wakes cause the majority of sightings, these classic multi-hump sea serpent sightings. Swimming deer, water birds cause long-neck sightings. Boats can be mistaken for Loch Ness monsters. All manner of things can, when seen on Loch Ness, be interpreted as monsters. But nonetheless, it's very hard to dismiss all eyewitness sightings.
Some people don't believe it's true, but I do, because some people think it's like this mystical thing, but I just believe it.
Oh, I think the idea of it is very romantic. It's an excellent idea, but no, I don't believe it exists.
I wish it existed, but clearly I don't think it does. I mean, scientifically it's very, very difficult to believe that it could possibly exist, but being a romantic and ever wishing to believe in fairies and things at the bottom of the garden, it'd be a wonderful notion if it did exist, yes. So I hope it does.
I suppose most people's image of the Loch Ness Monster would actually derive from a picture which is known all over the world, and we call it the surgeon's picture, which was supposedly taken by the London gynecologist Kenneth Wilson in the spring of 1934. But we didn't know exactly how it was done until we found a press article, and there was a long detective story until we found Christian Sperling, I know he was over 80 years old, who had actually made it for his stepfather, Marmaduke Wetherell, who was a flamboyant character. He was a practical joker. And he played the biggest joke of all when he actually played this joke on the Daily Mail by offering them the pictures. The model that was used for the surgeon's picture was no more than a foot high. It means that it was a complete red herring, this long-necked prehistoric monster type image. So the whole thing was a bit of a dead end. But as an image, the thing has enormous artistic quality, in my view, and will probably always be the Loch Ness Monster.
My only advice to anybody coming to Loch Ness or looking at the subject of Loch Ness is treat it with an open mind. Until you study all the evidence and draw your conclusions that it's not possible, until you do that, you keep an open mind, because people are seeing something here.
Do I believe in it? I want to believe in it, and I'll be back there someday, standing on the edge of the lake with all those tourists, you know, looking for the creature, because we we want to believe that these things exist, because I think we have a need for magic in our lives.